Today's audiobook summary is The Eighth Habit by Stephen R. Covey, a powerful book about finding your own voice and inspiring others to find theirs. Have you ever felt that you are capable of more, but somehow your life or work is not allowing you to fully express it? Maybe you are busy every day but still feel empty. Maybe you are working hard, but no one truly sees your talent. Maybe deep inside you feel that your life should mean something more than just earning, paying bills, and repeating the same routine. This is the pain Stephen Covey talks about in The Eighth Habit. It is the pain of people who have intelligence, creativity, passion, and potential inside them, but do not know how to use it in a meaningful way. They are not lazy. They are not useless. They simply have not yet discovered their voice. In this book, Covey explains that true greatness begins when a person finds their voice and then inspires others to find theirs. Your voice is the unique combination of your talent, passion, conscience, and the needs of the world around you. When these things come together, life becomes more than survival. Work becomes more than just a job. Leadership becomes more than a position. Your life begins to feel like a contribution. In this summary, you will learn why so many people feel disconnected from their work and their purpose, and why effectiveness alone is no longer enough in today's world. You will discover the difference between living an ordinary life and choosing an extraordinary one. You will hear the inspiring story of Muhammad Yunus, who saw human suffering and created a solution that changed millions of lives. You will also learn from the story of a military colonel who chose to build a legacy instead of simply protecting his own reputation. Finally, you will understand the 4 qualities needed to express your voice: vision, discipline, passion, and conscience. Vision helps you see what is possible. Discipline helps you make it real. Passion gives you the energy to keep going, and conscience keeps your success connected to what is right and meaningful. The eighth habit is not only about becoming more successful, it is about becoming more useful, more purposeful, and more alive. It is about moving from effectiveness to greatness, from routine to meaning, and from personal achievement to real contribution. So as you listen to this summary, ask yourself one simple question. What is the voice inside me that I have not fully expressed yet? The pain. Today, many people are carrying a quiet kind of pain inside them. They may not always say it openly, but deep down they feel it every day. Some people say, "I feel tired, empty, and exhausted." Others feel that no one truly appreciates their work, and even their boss has no idea what they are really capable of. Some people feel unnecessary at work, at home, or even in society. They feel as if their only purpose is to earn money, pay bills, and keep life moving. Many people quietly ask themselves, "Am I really making any difference? Maybe I simply don't have what it takes." Some feel empty inside, as if their life is missing something important. Some feel lonely, even when they are surrounded by people. Some are tired of workplace politics, backstabbing, and competition that destroys trust. Others feel bored and disconnected, simply passing time at work while finding more meaning outside their job than inside it. And this pain is not limited to the workplace. A husband may feel that his wife does not understand him. A parent may feel that the children no longer listen. A manager may feel powerless to bring change. An employee may feel trapped. A professional may feel underused. A leader may feel disconnected from the people they are supposed to lead. This is the pain of people who are trying to matter, but do not feel that they matter. It is the pain of people who want to contribute but feel unseen. It is the pain of people who have intelligence, talent, creativity, and passion inside them, but do not know where to express it. Of course, there are some people who are full of energy, deeply engaged in their work, and excited about what they are doing. But such people are not as common as they should be. In many organizations, a large number of people are physically present, but mentally and emotionally disconnected. Stephen Covey often asked his audiences a powerful question. He would ask, "How many of you believe that most people in your organization have far more intelligence, talent, creativity, and capability than their current job requires?" Many people agreed. They knew that people around them had much more potential than their work was allowing them to use. Many also admitted that they were working harder and harder, but getting less real satisfaction in return. Covey shared a very disturbing reality about modern workplaces. According to the research he referred to, only a small percentage of employees clearly understood their organization's goals and why those goals mattered. Only a few could honestly say that they understood how their own work connected to the larger goals of the company. Think about what that means. We live in a world where technology is moving faster than ever. Communication is easier. Information is everywhere. Organizations have more tools, more systems, and more resources than before. And yet, many people inside those same organizations feel stuck, confused, unmotivated, and unfulfilled. They are working, but they are not inspired. They are busy, but they are not deeply engaged. They are doing tasks, but they do not always understand the purpose behind those tasks. Many employees do not clearly know what their company is truly trying to achieve, what its real priorities are, or how their own effort contributes to something meaningful. And when organizations fail to bring out the best intelligence, passion, creativity, and talent of their people, the cost is enormous. It is not only a business cost, it is also a human cost. People lose energy. They lose confidence. They stop taking initiative. They stop dreaming. They stop believing that their work can make a difference. This is exactly why Stephen Covey says we need the eighth habit. His earlier book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, was published in 1989. Many people have asked whether those ideas still matter in today's digital world, where everything changes so fast. Covey's answer was clear. The more the world changes, the more important timeless principles become. The 7 habits are not temporary tricks. They are based on universal principles of effectiveness, responsibility, character, and personal growth. But in the modern world, effectiveness alone is no longer enough. Today, people do not only want to manage their time better, they want meaning. They do not only want to become more productive, they want purpose. They do not only want to succeed, they want to feel fulfilled. They want to know that their life, their work, and their contribution actually matter. This is where the 8th habit begins. The 8th habit is about finding your voice and inspiring others to find theirs. But what does voice really mean? Your voice is not just your ability to speak. It is the deepest expression of who you are. It is the meeting point of your talent, your passion, your need, and your conscience. When you do something that uses your natural gifts, awakens your passion, serves a real need in the world, and feels right in your heart, that is your voice. That is your calling. In other words, your voice appears when your ability, your desire, your values, and the needs of others come together. When that happens, work stops feeling like just work. It becomes contribution. It becomes meaning. It becomes a mission. To understand this idea more clearly, let us look at the story of a man who found his own voice and then helped millions of others find theirs. His name is Muhammad Yunus, the founder of Grameen Bank in Bangladesh. Grameen Bank was created with a very unusual mission. It was built to give microcredit, or very small loans, to poor people who were usually ignored by traditional banks. These small loans helped poor people start tiny businesses, earn their own income, and slowly become financially independent. But this powerful idea did not begin inside a big bank office. It began with pain. Years ago, Muhammad Yunus was a professor at a university in Bangladesh. He taught economics, and he had earned his Ph.D. in the United States. On paper, he was a highly educated man, teaching important ideas about markets, finance, and development. But at that time, Bangladesh was suffering from a terrible famine. People were starving. Many were walking through the streets like skeletons, waiting helplessly for death. Yunus began to feel that all the economic theories he had studied and taught sounded empty in front of real human suffering. The ideas looked impressive in books and classrooms, but they did not seem powerful enough to save the lives of the people dying just outside the campus. So he did something simple, but life-changing. He left the university campus and went into the village to meet people directly. He wanted to understand their pain, not from a textbook, but from their own lives. He wanted to know what was really keeping them poor, and whether there was any practical way to help them. During this journey, Yunus met a woman who made bamboo stools. She worked hard, created useful products, and had real skill. But he was shocked to discover that after all her effort, she earned only a tiny amount from each stool. When he asked why, the woman explained her situation. She did not have enough money to buy bamboo by herself, so she had to borrow money from a trader. But the loan came with a cruel condition. She had to sell the finished products only to that same trader, and the trader decided the price. In other words, she was working hard, but she was trapped. Her skill was real, her effort was real, but she had no freedom. Yunus could not believe it. This woman did not need a huge amount of money to change her life. She only needed a small amount to buy her own materials and sell her products freely. Then Yunus looked further and found many other people in the village facing the same kind of problem. They were not lazy. They were not without talent. They were not unwilling to work. They were simply trapped because they lacked access to a very small amount of capital. He made a list of 42 people who were in this situation. When he calculated the total amount they needed to free themselves from this cycle, it came to only $27. Just $27. That small number deeply affected him. A group of hard-working people was trapped in poverty because they did not have access to an amount of money that many people in the world might spend without even thinking. So Yunus took money from his own pocket and gave it to them as a loan. He told them they could repay it whenever they were able. His goal was simple. He wanted them to start their own work, sell their products more freely, and earn more from their own effort. The people were deeply grateful. For them, this was not just money. It was dignity. It was opportunity. It was hope. But Yunus did not stop there. He asked himself, what should I do next? he went to a local bank and asked whether they would lend money to poor villagers so they could start their own small businesses. The bank manager was shocked. To him, the idea sounded impossible. He said something like, "Are you crazy? How can we lend money to poor people? They will never repay it." Eunice didn't accept this answer easily. He went to higher bank officials and explained the situation again and again, but they gave him the same response. They believed that poor people were too risky. They believed that poor people could not be trusted with loans. After many attempts, Eunice finally offered to become the guarantor himself. He told the bank, "Wherever you need my signature, I will sign. Just give me the money so I can help them." The bank officers warned him that the poor villagers would never pay the money back. But Eunice was willing to take the risk, so the loans were given. The villagers used the money to start their work. And something surprising happened. They paid the money back. The bank officers had been wrong. Then the loans grew from a few people to more people, from one village to several villages, and then from several villages to many more. Again and again, the poor borrowers repaid their loans. They proved that poverty does not mean dishonesty. Poverty does not mean a lack of ability. Poverty often means a lack of opportunity. But even after seeing the results, the traditional banks still did not fully believe in the idea. So eventually, Eunice decided to create his own bank. He believed that poor people deserved trust. He believed they deserved access to credit. He believed they were capable of building better lives if someone gave them a fair chance. Getting approval was not easy. It took years of effort to convince the government, but finally, in October 1983, Grameen Bank became an official independent bank. Over time, Grameen Bank grew into a powerful movement. It reached thousands of villages, opened many branches, employed thousands of people, and gave millions of small loans to poor borrowers. What started as one man listening to his conscience became a system that helped millions of people create income, dignity, and independence. This story shows the true meaning of finding your voice. Muhammad Yunus saw a human need. He listened to his conscience. He used his knowledge, talent, courage, and persistence to respond to that need. He did not wait for someone else to solve the problem. He did not say, "I am only a professor. This is not my responsibility." Instead, he allowed the suffering around him to awaken something inside him. And that is the lesson. You do not need a powerful title to make a difference. You do not need to be at the top of an organization to inspire people. You do not need to be rich, famous, or highly ranked before you can serve others. Sometimes all it takes is the willingness to see a real need, listen to your inner voice, and take one courageous step. The eighth habit begins from that place. It begins when you stop asking only, "What can I get?" and start asking, "What can I contribute?" It begins when you stop living only for survival and start living with purpose. It begins when you find your own voice and then use your life to help others find theirs. In the next part, we will go deeper into how you can discover your own voice and how you can help other people discover the voice that is already waiting inside them. The solution. In many organizations, the biggest cultural changes do not always begin with a grand announcement, a new policy, or a top-level strategy. Very often, they begin with one person. Sometimes that person is a CEO or a president. Sometimes it is a manager. Sometimes it is an assistant, a teacher, a supervisor, a team member, or someone with no impressive title at all. The position is not the most important thing. What matters is that this person begins to change from the inside out. They start taking responsibility for their own character, their own attitude, and their own contribution. Their positive energy becomes noticeable. Their honesty, discipline, initiative, and courage begin to affect the people around them. They understand their strengths, recognize their talents, and use them to solve real problems and create better results. At first, people may not understand what is happening. They simply notice that this person works differently. They bring solutions instead of complaints. They create trust instead of fear. They lift people instead of pulling them down. Slowly, others begin to pay attention. Because of this, these remarkable people are often given more responsibility. And when they handle that responsibility well, they are trusted with even greater responsibility. Their influence grows not because they demanded power, but because they proved they could be trusted. Eventually, people start asking, how did this person do it? How did they create such a powerful change? The answer is simple, but not easy. Extraordinary people do not wait for the environment to become perfect before they begin. They do not allow the negative forces around them to decide who they will become. They do not sit and wait for their boss to change, their seniors to change, their company to change, or the world to change. They start with themselves. They may be surrounded by ordinary thinking, office politics, laziness, fear, or disappointment, but they choose a different path. They rise above the atmosphere around them. And because they change themselves first, their change slowly spreads to others. This brings us to an important question. Where does one person get the strength to fight selfishness, break away from average thinking, and create a new path? Where does someone find that vision, courage, and inner fire? Stephen Covey's answer is that extraordinary people discover their true nature. They recognize their unique gifts. They understand their talents and begin to use those talents for a purpose that matters. They create a vision of what they want to contribute, and then they take the first step with discipline, wisdom, and courage. They also look around and ask, what is needed here? What problem can I help solve? Whose life can I improve? What contribution can I make? Then they use their ability to meet that need. In simple words, remarkable people find their voice, and then they use it. They do not find their voice only for personal success. They use it to serve, to lead, to build, and to inspire. They help others believe in their own ability. They bring principles of growth, trust, responsibility, and greatness into the people and systems around them. This is one of the most powerful ideas in the eighth habit. Extraordinary people love creating positive change. They enjoy helping others discover their own voice. And this is not only for people at the top. Whether someone is a leader, an employee, a parent, a student, or a beginner, the journey is the same. First, they must listen to their own inner voice. Then, they must help others discover theirs. In life, we all choose between two paths. One path leads to ordinary living. The other path leads to extraordinary living. The ordinary path is easier. It is comfortable. It asks less from us. It tells us to follow the crowd, complain when things go wrong, wait for others to act, and protect ourselves from responsibility. But this path slowly reduces our potential. It makes us smaller than we were meant to be. The extraordinary path is different. It is not always easy, but it brings growth. It challenges us to become more honest, more courageous, more disciplined, and more useful. It changes us from the inside out. It pushes us to bring out the greatness that is already inside us. And the difference between these two paths is voice. When a person loses their voice, they may still be alive, still working, still earning, and still moving through life, but they feel disconnected from their real purpose. But when a person finds their voice, life becomes different. They begin to feel that they are here for a reason. Their work gains meaning. Their relationships gain depth. Their choices become stronger. Their contribution becomes clearer. Deep inside, almost every human being wants to live a meaningful life. We all want to contribute something. We all want to feel that our life matters. We all want to become more than just someone who survives, earns, eats, sleeps, and repeats the same routine every day. Sometimes we doubt ourselves. We may think, maybe I am not capable. Maybe I am not special. Maybe it is too late for me. But Stephen Covey's message is very clear. You do have the ability to live with purpose. You do have the potential to create a meaningful life. You do have something inside you that can serve others and make a difference. One story that Covey shares makes this idea very powerful. Once, he met a commander at a military base. This commander was a colonel who was trying to bring a deep cultural change into his organization. He had already served in the military for more than 30 years and was close to retirement. He could have quietly finished his service, received respect, enjoyed ceremonies, and stepped away with honor. But instead of choosing an easy exit, he chose to work on something difficult. He wanted to transform the culture of the organization. He wanted to fight against mistrust, carelessness, laziness, and resistance. He wanted to create a system that would build better leaders for the future. Stephen Covey asked him a very direct question. He said, "You could retire now. You could receive awards, enjoy dinners in your honor, and celebrate with your family and colleagues. Why are you choosing to stay involved in this difficult cultural change?" The colonel became serious. He paused for a while before answering. Then he told Covey about his father. When his father was close to death, the colonel went to see him. His father shared words that stayed with him forever. He said, "Son, do not live your life the way I lived mine. I never truly made a difference. I was not the husband your mother deserved, and I was not the father you deserved. Promise me that you will not repeat my mistakes. Promise me that you will not live your life the way I lived mine." Those were some of the last words his father spoke to him, and after that his father passed away peacefully. The colonel saw those words as a final gift. He carried them like a sacred responsibility. They awakened something deep inside him. He did not want to waste his life. He did not want to live only for comfort, reputation, or retirement. He wanted to live in a way that created real change. He admitted that when he was younger, he had imagined retiring early and enjoying an easy life. He also admitted something very honest. Deep down, he had once hoped that the colonel who came after him would not be as good as him, so that people would remember him as the better leader. But that was before his father's final message changed him. Now his thinking was completely different. He no longer wanted to be remembered by making others look weaker. He wanted to build something so strong that the next leader could become even better than him. He wanted to create a system, a culture, and a process that would produce excellent leaders long after he was gone. That is the mindset of true greatness. Ordinary leadership asks, how can I protect my image? Extraordinary leadership asks, how can I help others become greater than me? Ordinary people want to be praised. Extraordinary people want to create something that continues to help others even when they are no longer there. This is what it means to find your voice and inspire others to find theirs. No matter who you are, you have a choice. You can choose the path of ordinary living, or you can choose the path of extraordinary living. You can choose comfort, excuses, and waiting, or you can choose growth, responsibility, and contribution. And the good news is, it is not too late, even if you feel that you have been living an ordinary life until now. Your story is not finished. You can still begin again. You can still listen to your conscience. You can still discover your talents. You can still find a need around you and respond to it with courage. You may not change the whole world in one day, but you can choose greatness for one day. You can choose to act with integrity for one day. You can choose to encourage someone for one day. You can choose to take responsibility for one day. And sometimes, one day of living with purpose becomes the beginning of a completely different life. The solution begins when one person stops waiting and starts becoming. That one person can be you. Express your voice. When you study the lives of truly successful people, especially those who created a deep influence and made meaningful contributions to the world, you begin to notice a pattern. Their greatness did not come from talent alone. It did not come only from hard work, education, or opportunity. Behind their impact, there was a deeper development of the whole person. Stephen Covey explains this through 4 human intelligences: mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual. These 4 intelligences are expressed through 4 powerful qualities. Mental intelligence gives us vision. Physical intelligence gives us discipline. Emotional intelligence gives us passion. And spiritual intelligence gives us conscience. When vision, discipline, passion, and conscience come together, a person is able to express their voice in the strongest and most meaningful way. Vision is the ability to see possibility. It is the ability to look at a person, a situation, a problem, or a project, and see what it can become. Vision allows us to imagine a better future before that future becomes real. It helps us see solutions where others only see difficulty. It helps us see potential where others only see weakness. Without vision, a person slowly becomes trapped by circumstances. They stop creating in their mind. They stop imagining a better path. They begin to feel like a victim of life instead of the creator of a meaningful future. Vision gives direction. It tells us where we are going and why the journey matters. But vision alone is not enough. Many people have dreams. Many people imagine a better life. Many people talk about what they want to do. But without discipline, vision remains only a beautiful idea. Discipline is what turns vision into reality. It is the ability to face the hard facts of life and still do what needs to be done. Discipline means staying committed even when the work is difficult, boring, uncomfortable, or slow. It is choosing the important thing over the easy thing. It is doing what your vision requires, not just what your mood feels like doing. When commitment is joined with vision, it becomes discipline. The opposite of discipline is indulgence. Indulgence means always choosing comfort, pleasure, and convenience while ignoring what is necessary. It is the habit of saying, I will do it later, even when deep inside you know that later may never come. Discipline is the bridge between what you see in your mind and what you create in real life. Then comes passion. Passion is the fire of deep commitment. It is the emotional energy that gives life to discipline. Discipline helps you keep moving, but passion gives you the fuel to move with energy, courage, and excitement. Passion appears when your talent is connected to a meaningful need. When you are doing something that uses your ability and serves something important, passion naturally begins to grow. Without passion, a person becomes weak inside. They may be capable, but they do not feel alive. They may have talent, but they are filled with insecurity, hesitation, and doubt. Passion gives strength to the heart. It helps a person continue even when others do not understand them. It helps them endure rejection, criticism, and temporary failure. But even vision, discipline, and passion are not enough if they are not guided by conscience. Conscience is the inner sense of right and wrong. It is the quiet voice inside us that tells us whether our path is honest, fair, and meaningful. Conscience connects us with purpose and contribution. It reminds us that our talent is not only for personal gain, but also for service. It guides vision, controls passion, and gives discipline a moral direction. The opposite of conscience is ego. Ego says, I am more important than others. Conscience says, how can I serve? Ego wants power, control, praise, and superiority. Conscience wants truth, contribution, justice, and meaning. This is why conscience is so important. Without conscience, even a talented and passionate leader can become dangerous. A person who creates true influence in a family, a community, a company, or an organization usually develops all four of these qualities. They have vision to see what is possible. They have discipline to work toward it. They have passion to keep going. And they have conscience to make sure their success does not destroy others. History gives us many examples of leaders who found their voice and inspired others through these four qualities. George Washington, the first president of the United States, had a vision of a free and united nation. He imagined a country that could stand independently and remain united against outside control. His leadership during the Revolutionary period required discipline, courage, and sacrifice. He was deeply passionate about freedom and independence, and his sense of responsibility helped shape the beginning of a new nation. Mahatma Gandhi played a major role in India's journey toward independence. He did not hold a powerful government position, yet he became one of the most influential leaders in history. His strength came from moral authority. Gandhi created strong social and cultural standards through nonviolence, self-discipline, simplicity, and truth. He lived with a conscience that spoke not only to the people of India, but also to the international community and even to the British people. His voice was not loud because of political power. It was powerful because it was rooted in principle. Margaret Thatcher became the first female Prime Minister of the United Kingdom and served through 3 consecutive terms. Many people admired her, and many criticized her, but no one could deny her discipline and determination. She believed strongly in responsibility, strength, and economic reform. During a difficult period, she worked to lead her country through economic challenges and encouraged people to take discipline and responsibility seriously. Nelson Mandela is another powerful example. He fought against apartheid in South Africa, a system of racial separation and injustice. Because of his fight, he spent 27 years in prison, but even in prison, Mandela did not lose his voice. He wrote inspiring messages and used his words, courage, and moral strength to stand against racism and injustice. Later, in 1994, he became South Africa's first black president. In 1993, he was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. Mandela's leadership was powerful because it was not built on revenge. It was guided by conscience, forgiveness, justice, and the dream of a united nation. All of these leaders had vision, discipline, passion, and conscience. Their lives were not perfect, and they faced many struggles, criticism, and opposition. But they used their voice to serve something larger than themselves. Now we must ask an important question. What happens when a leader has vision, discipline, and passion, but does not have conscience? What happens when conscience is replaced by ego? History gives us a frightening answer through the example of Adolf Hitler. Hitler had a vision, but it was a destructive vision. He imagined the endless rule of the Third Reich and believed in the false superiority of the Aryan race. He had discipline. He organized and led one of the most disciplined military forces of his time. He also had passion. He was a powerful speaker who could stir emotions and move crowds. His followers were so devoted that many were ready to give their lives for him and his cause. But his leadership was not guided by conscience. It was driven by hatred, ego, pride, racism, and a desire for domination. Instead of using vision to uplift humanity, he used it to divide and destroy. Instead of using passion to inspire goodness, he used it to spread violence. Instead of using discipline to build a better world, he used it to create fear and suffering. This is why conscience matters so much. When conscience is joined with vision, passion, and discipline, leadership becomes a force for good. It brings growth, justice, service, healing, and progress. It helps people rise. It changes the world in a meaningful way. But when vision, passion, and discipline exist without conscience, leadership becomes dangerous. It may look powerful for a time. It may attract followers. It may create fear and control. But sooner or later, it collapses because it is built on ego instead of truth. Ego always destroys in the end. It may first destroy others, but eventually it destroys the person who is controlled by it. Ego blinds a leader. It makes them believe they are above correction, above morality, and above other people. That is why anyone who wants to become a true leader must learn to overcome ego and listen to conscience. To express your voice, you must develop the whole person. You need vision to see what is possible. You need discipline to make that vision real. You need passion to give energy to your journey. And you need conscience to make sure your journey is right. When these four parts come together, your voice becomes powerful. Not loud, not arrogant, not controlling, but powerful in the deepest sense. It becomes the kind of voice that can guide your life, inspire others, and contribute something meaningful to the world. Conclusion. In the beginning, we saw how Muhammad Yunus, the founder of Grameen Bank, discovered his own voice by responding to a real human need. He saw poor people who were hard-working, capable, and honest, but trapped because they did not have access to even a small amount of money. Instead of simply feeling sad or waiting for someone else to act, he listened to his conscience and used his knowledge, courage, and persistence to create a solution. That is the heart of the eighth habit. It is about making an impact. It is about bringing meaningful change. People who live the eighth habit do not only complain about what is wrong, they see the need for change, and then they begin that change within themselves first. They do not wait for a perfect position, a perfect environment, or a perfect opportunity. They start with their own character, their own choices, and their own contribution. Then we looked at the two paths every person can choose in life. One path leads to ordinary living, where we follow the crowd, make excuses, wait for others to change, and slowly lose touch with our real potential. The other path leads to extraordinary living, where we take responsibility, grow from the inside out, and use our life to serve a purpose greater than ourselves. The story of the Colonel showed this beautifully. He could have chosen comfort, retirement, and personal praise, but because of his father's final words, he chose something deeper. He chose to become a better leader. He chose to build a system that would help others grow. Most importantly, he wanted the leader after him to become even better than him. That is the mindset of true greatness. It is not about protecting your image. It is about creating something that continues to help people even after you are gone. And just like that, Colonel, you also have a choice. You can choose to live only an ordinary life, or you can choose to discover your real ability and walk the path of extraordinary contribution. It does not matter where you are right now. It does not matter how long you have felt stuck, unseen, or uncertain. It is still not too late to find your voice. In the final part, we learned that expressing your voice requires 4 powerful qualities: vision, discipline, passion, and conscience. Vision helps you see what is possible. Discipline helps you turn that possibility into reality. Passion gives you the emotional energy to keep going, and conscience guides you toward what is right, meaningful, and useful to others. We also saw examples of great leaders who used these qualities to influence the world. Leaders like George Washington, Mahatma Gandhi, Margaret Thatcher, and Nelson Mandela were not great simply because they had power. Their influence came from a combination of vision, discipline, passion, and conscience. They saw a better future, worked with courage, stayed committed through difficulty, and allowed their principles to guide their actions. But we also learned an important warning. Vision, discipline, and passion without conscience can become dangerous. When ego replaces conscience, leadership can turn destructive. That is why true greatness is never only about success, influence, or achievement. It is about using your strength in the right way, for the right purpose, and for the benefit of others. Stephen Covey's message is that every human being has great potential. You have it too. You have the freedom to choose your response. You have the ability to grow. You have principles such as kindness, honesty, service, responsibility, and morality to guide you. And you have 4 human intelligences: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. The question is not whether you have potential. The real question is whether you will use it. The difference between an ordinary life and an extraordinary life is not always talent, money, position, or luck. Often the difference is the decision to live with purpose. It is the decision to listen to your conscience, develop your abilities, serve a real need, and contribute something meaningful. So as you reflect on the 8th habit, remember this: your voice is already inside you. It may be hidden under fear, doubt, pressure, or routine, but it is still there. When you find it, your life becomes clearer. Your work becomes more meaningful. Your relationships become deeper, and your contribution becomes more powerful. And once you begin to live from your own voice, you can help others discover theirs. And that is the journey from effectiveness to greatness. That is the journey from simply living to truly contributing. And that is the real message of the eighth habit.